Hey guys, it's Skylar and welcome back to my channel. Today is very exciting. I came home and I found the beautiful Jaclyn Hill and Morphe Volume 2 palette sitting on my doorstep. I actually didn't expect this to come until next week, but as luck would have it, I got it today. So I'm really excited to film like a first impression / review / tutorial on this palette. I don't know much about it. The only video I have seen is Jaclyn's original announcement video where she goes through the palette and like the shades and stuff. Other than that, I try to stay away from other videos because I didn't want anyone else's opinion to sway mine. And so yeah, I don't know much about this palette except that it's supposed to have the original formula as the original Jaclyn Hill palette with the exception of a couple of new glitter formulas, so I don't know what that means. But I am just gonna dive right into this video. I'm really excited to open this up. I haven't even opened up the box yet. I look like a mess because, again, I didn't expect to sit down and film today, but I really just wanted to open this baby up in front of the camera to give you my first impressions, so get right into it. So if you've been subscribed to me for a while, you know that I am a graphic design major, and with that being said, I really love packaging. That's why I love Jeffree Star's makeup so much, is that his packaging is always iconic. Let me tell you, Jaclyn Hill, her packaging's pretty good on the second run. I didn't really like the first palette's packaging, to be honest, but this is a lot nicer. The lettering is raised, so it feels a lot more expensive. It's not like any save-worthy packaging, if that makes sense. But, you know, she definitely improved upon that aspect, her and Morphe. The back has just like a little note about like the past few years because she's had some flops and you know. So anyways, let's just open this up. This palette for some reason to me looks a lot smaller than the original. I don't know if that's just like an illusion with the font. So I have both palettes here in front of me. This is the new palette. One thing I am noticing that's a lot different is obviously the font and the package itself. This is raised, and it's a really like strong font, if that makes sense, whereas her original is cursive, and it's not raised, and I don't believe it's as metallic. To be honest, I don't like this packaging, and the reason being is because, don't get me wrong, I love when brands mix typography. I enjoy that, but there's just something about the cursive mixed with this like plain font that I just don't like. I think they could have picked a better choice. That's just my opinion. You might disagree. Like I said, it's also not raised. One big difference I am noticing though with these two palettes is that the back of the new palette doesn't have anything, whereas this one has all of the colors and the shade names on the back as well. If you look inside the original, they have, you know, her like thanks for all my loving subscribers, blah, blah, blah. And then obviously the colors. I didn't like with this palette that they didn't put the shade names underneath the colors. That was really difficult for me to have to like turn this over and then go through and try and figure out what was named. But let's open this baby up. I'm really excited. One thing that is different between the original and the new palette is that they actually have the shade names underneath each of the colors, which I like a lot more than having to flip this palette back and forth trying to figure out what's named what. Here is the palette in all of its beauty. I think that this palette is so stunning. They complement each other really well. Like if I show you a side by side of both of these, this palette is very stunning. I love all of the colors in this. It's very warm toned rather than cool toned, but so was her original. I think Jaclyn is more of a warm toned kind of gal. I do see what she's saying with the new glitter shades. It looks like this is probably one of the new glitter shades. And I am noticing too, there's some interesting colors in here. There's Temptress right here. And then there is Livin' My Best, which is right here. And those they're matte, but they also have like a hint of sparkle in them. I don't think that's a new formula by any means. I actually think this color Temptress down here, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I actually think that's a color in the Vault collection. I believe I think it's in Dark Magic, which is the blue palette. I want to say that's the same exact shade. It could be because maybe she wanted to incorporate a black in this palette. I do think this palette is really pretty. One thing I have to say upon looking at it, I do think that some of the colors are a little bit repetitive, meaning that I think that these two colors up here, for example, this one and this one, I think that they probably could have been switched out for something else. That's just my opinion. I also think that these two colors, this one up here and this one right here, are also very similar. They're different, but they are very similar, and I think that they could have been replaced with something else. Again, that's just my opinion. You might disagree. The other thing I like about this palette too, if you look, you can totally get some neutral colors if you're someone who doesn't like to wear color, like bright colors every day, but you can also get your fun like pop of color. So this palette is originally $39, and then they also charge you for shipping. It cost me $44, and then I also used a 5% discount, so it was a little bit less than $44. But if we want to do the math out, if we take the $39, which is the original price point, and we divide it by 35, because that's how many shades are in this palette, each individual pan of eyeshadow is about $1.11, which isn't bad for this palette. There's a lot of palettes out there like Jeffree Star and Anastasia Beverly Hills that are really pricey per pan, I guess, if you will. So their palettes are usually like $54 rather than $39, so I'm not complaining. You also get quite a bit of product in each pan, and there's a lot of pans in this palette, so it would take you a while to go through each eyeshadow, and I mean like every eyeshadow, go through it and hit pan. Jaclyn did swatch, I believe, all of these in her video. I didn't really watch, I didn't watch it too closely, so I do want to swatch some of these for you. Not all of them, but there are just some that really stand out to me. There's a shade here called My Man, which is a wicked bright orange. I don't know how well the camera picks it up, but it is really bright, so I'm just going to swirl my finger around that 3 times. And then I'm also going to go over my arm a couple times, just because I feel like you go over your shade a couple times with your brush. And that's wicked bright. I suck at swatching, so I feel like you can't go off of what I do for swatching too much. It also always is different on your eyelid than your arm. But from what I can see, this is a really pretty orange. It's wicked bright. I also want to swatch Not My Journey, which is this purple right here. Now, the reason I want to swatch this is because purples are the hardest eyeshadow to make, if you didn't know. And so I just want to see if it comes across as being, you know, kind of patchy on the arm. The swatch is a little bit iffy on my arm. It's faint. I also struggle a lot with swatches, so again, you can't really go off of what I say with swatching, but it doesn't swatch that nice on my arm. Again, it's going to be a lot different on the eyelid. It does feel pretty creamy though, so it might be different when it gets on your eye. The next shade I really want to swatch is Livin' My Best, which is this really pretty red. This is the one that has like a little bit of glitter in it. This actually has a lot of fallout. You can just see I swirled my finger around in it. I'm not pressing down too hard. I don't know how well the camera will pick it up, but I did get a little bit of kick up. It's a little bit chunky on my finger too, so interesting. But I'm just gonna swatch that right here. Ooh, that's actually really pretty. And the sparkles show up really well. I also want to go in with, I think it's Talia is how you pronounce it, which is this glittery type of yellow right there. I'm assuming this is her new glitter shade, so I'm just gonna swirl my finger around that a couple times and just... Ooh, alright, so that's different. The camera does not pick that up at all. This is like wicked gold, but it's like sparkly. It's almost sheer, like you would put it over another shade. I don't know how well, the camera is not picking it up. It washes off my arm wicked bad. But you can see on my pinky it's really pigmented. I bet you if you used like a pretty sticky base, like a, like NYX's glitter primer, I think you could probably get away with making this really pigmented. It doesn't show up that pigmented on my arm at all though. But again, I'm also really pale and the camera washes me out. That's all I'm gonna swatch. I don't think swatches are really a good way of representing makeup because it goes on your eyes so much different. You're applying it with a brush. If you want to see a video where people are doing swatches, go check out Jaclyn's original announcement video. She swatches all the colors on that. I'm not going to waste my time doing it. I am, however, going to wipe this off my fingers and I'm going to get right into a tutorial for you guys because I really want to play around with these colors. One thing I want to mention as well, a lot of palettes with pinks and purples, they stain your skin pretty bad. I can actually, my fingers, it's not coming off. Again, I only wipe this with a dry paper towel though, so maybe it'll wash off with water, but I have a feeling this will probably stain my eyelids really bad, so I'm actually gonna go in with the Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer Potion. I don't usually use primer, I usually just go in with a concealer, but I feel like it's gonna stain, and so I'm gonna try and prevent that as best as I can by going in with like a better base, maybe, perhaps. It might help, maybe it won't. Another thing I'm going to do too while we're sitting here, I don't know if this will have really bad fallout, so I am going to go in with some loose powder and just put a little bit underneath my eye. Alright, I am going to go in with my Morphe M433 brush right here, and I'm going to go in with the shade Crazy, which is like a really dark cranberry red color down here. And we're going to try and do a like red smoky eye. It's been a hot second since I've tried that. And I'm going to just tap off the excess, and I'm going to pack this all on my lid. Don't worry about blending at this point, just really pack in the eyeshadow on the eyelid. We're going to blend out with another color later. So far, I'm not noticing any fallout. There is a lot of kick up in the pan though. I don't know how well the camera will pick it up, but you can see that, oh, where is it? That there is some falling out onto the pan. I know that really bothers some people. To me, it's not that big of a deal. If you're careful with how you pick up the eyeshadow, you probably won't get as much of fallout, but I also want this to be a little bit more of a rounded sort of eyeshadow look because I kind of want it to look a little more grungy and smoked out, so I'm gonna kind of make this as round as I can. But again, don't really blend right now. Don't worry about blending. We're gonna blend it later. All right, so I am noticing a little bit of fallout on this side. So that is something you might want to note. If you've done your foundation already, you might want to put down powder just so it doesn't stain and then you ruin your foundation. Next, I'm going to go in with a Morphe M573 brush, and I'm going to pick up the shade Livin' My Best, which is that really pretty sparkly red right here. And I'm going to pick up some of that and begin to blend out this darker red. I am noticing a lot of kick up with this shade as well. So again, just something to note. It's also getting like all over the table and stuff because I'm tapping off the excess. So far, despite the fact that there is some kick up in the pan, I'm not noticing any fallout with that shade Livin' My Best. It is blending extremely nice with the darker shade that we put on Crazy, and I'm not noticing too much of an issue blending it outwards. Again, it's really rough right now, but we're gonna go in with a third shade and blend it out the rest of the way. All right, I'm gonna go in, this is a Morphe E17 brush. I'm gonna go in with the next shade called Heart On, which is right here. It's right next to that really pretty sparkly red. And I'm going to take some of this on my brush and very slightly blend this just a little bit above the Livin' My Best shade. Not too much, just a smidge. I'm gonna go in with my Morphe E27 brush I have right here. It's just a fluffy brush, and I'm going to blend out the edge of both of these eyes, but I'm gonna do it really carefully, and I'm not blending out, I'm really just blending along the line so it melts into the skin. One thing I'm noticing that I really like actually with this palette is as I'm blending this out, it isn't losing any of its pigment. It's blending out flawlessly. A lot of shades I've noticed sometimes with any eyeshadow palette is that when you go to blend them out, they start to either become patchy or they like fade and then they look gross, and it's just not a good time. This, I'm not having that issue. It's actually blending out really nice, and the pigment is the same as when I originally put it on. All right, I'm gonna go back in with my Morphe M433 brush. I'm gonna pick up more of Crazy, which is that darkest shade we put on the eyelid, and I'm just gonna go over it again and kind of like, I'm gonna blend where we ended that color a little bit better, just to kind of incorporate them all together. I feel like things are looking a little bit discombobulated right now, so I'm gonna go in with a Morphe, let's see, this is a Morphe M213 brush. It's just a really small, like, flat smudger brush. I'm gonna pick up Crazy first, and I'm gonna smudge that along my lower lash line just to tie in all of the shades together. And I'm also gonna take this down pretty low because I really want to smudge it out. I really love a good smudged out grungy look. So we're gonna take this down pretty far. I'm gonna go in with that E27 brush again. I'm gonna kind of like pinch the top a little bit so it's more flat, and I'm just going to really smoke out the bottom lash line and just kind of blend it out a little bit more so there is no harsh lines. I like how this is looking so far, but I think it needs to be a little bit deeper on the lash line. So I'm gonna go in with Temptress, which is that black shade at the bottom corner that I think is a repeat color, but again, I could be wrong. And I'm gonna pick that up on the M213 brush, which is that same flat smudger brush, and I'm gonna stamp this along the lash line. This is actually really pigmented and it feels really creamy, and I'm gonna see how well it blends out with the rest of this shadow. I put more black on the outer corner of the eye because I really wanted to deepen it up a little bit more. And it blends out wicked nice. So no complaints there. A lot of blacks that I've used in the past usually end up being really patchy, or they don't blend out as well as I would hope. To tie this all together, I'm going to take a little bit more of Temptress and I'm going to run this just on the lash line of my bottom lashes and only on this outer corner, and that's just because I want to tie in the top and bottom together. All right, so we have all the colors down. Overall, I really like each of those colors that I use. There is a little bit of fallout on my face that I'm noticing, but that's why we put the powder down, so I'm just gonna brush it away. This is like a really vampy goth look, but I actually really love the shades. I would totally wear this out even though it's pretty bright. I don't think that it is like over the top. I also don't give a shit, so I would wear it out anyways. I am gonna go in with my invisible lash glue from, this is Benefit's lash glue, and I'm gonna go in with the House of Lashes Temptress lashes, and I'm gonna throw those on wicked quick. All right, so this is the finished look. Alright, so overall, I think that this palette is really nice. I don't regret buying it. Like I said before, I do think that some of the shades are a little bit repetitive and could have been replaced with something else, a little different. But I do think the palette is pretty unique. I don't think there's really any other palette like it out in the market. Again, I could be wrong, but as far as, at least in my own opinion, I don't think there's a palette very much like it in the market right now. I really do enjoy each of the shades that I have put on. There is a little bit of fallout, like I mentioned, so you do have to be a little bit careful with that. Maybe put on your eyeshadow before your foundation or powder, so that way you don't get your eyeshadow all over your face and ruin your beautiful makeup. But other than that, I can't really say I have too many complaints. The colors blended out really well. I haven't used any of the purples yet though. I've only used the reds, so I don't know. I also don't know if this is going to stain my skin. I have a feeling it will. That's nothing against Jaclyn or Morphe. It is the same with any eyeshadow that is pink or red and sometimes purple. They just stain your lids. It's normal. It's whatever they use as a ingredient in the eyeshadow that causes it to stain your skin. Just use a really good base and it'll probably be easy to get off. You can go in with some like oil-based makeup remover, and I think that will probably help get rid of any staining you have. But that is something to be aware of if you have like a big event the next day. Maybe don't wear pink eyeshadow the day before, or if you do, be prepared that you're gonna need to cover it up with some foundation or a different eyeshadow. I don't know what to tell you, but that it is what it is with pinks. But again, I don't know. I haven't taken this off yet, and maybe it won't stain by some miraculous discovery. They found something that prevents staining. I don't know, but other than that, I really enjoy this eyeshadow. I do intend to film more videos using this Jaclyn Hill and Morphe palette. I really want to get use out of these purple shades right here. Mostly just like these four, like look, this quadrant right here. I also want to do a tutorial using these four orangey yellow quadrants as well, and perhaps some of the brighter colors. I also want to get out some tutorials that show you ways that you can use this palette and still create everyday natural looks. I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. If you have not yet, please subscribe and click the thumbs up. Also, be sure to follow me on Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter because I do post additional content on there that you don't see here on YouTube. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Ouch. Want to bring to your knees. Welcome to the jungle. We got fun and games. We got everything you want. Honey, we know the names. We are the people that can find whatever you... Ooh, I'm getting this all over me. It's in the air. Oh, shit. No. She kind of like released the palette, I guess. What is the word I'm looking for? Released the palette. That isn't it. released. Launched. It's not launched. You launched the palette. Her video, her launch video.